Hello and welcome to the digital edition of Overdrive. Hope you all have been having a very fruitful week, and as the weekend approaches, you must be wondering how best to utilize your free time. Let me be of some assistance. We've got a varied playlist of reviews, comparison tests, first look videos, even travel logs on our YouTube channel to keep you hooked. So subscribe to our channel if you haven't already, and while you scroll through, you might also want to hit the like button, share some of the review with your friends, or even comment and let us know your thoughts on the video that you're watching. Coming to the show on our hands today, let's start off with the most talked about SUV for the past few weeks. Ever since Tata Motors officially unveiled the new generation Safari, questions have been raised about the off-roadability of this SUV and whether it matches up to the legendary capability of its predecessors. We've spent some time with it, and what we do know is that this SUV sits above the Harrier with its 3-row seating and an expanded list of features. More details from Arif Sherwani.
We first saw the Safari in February 2020 at the Auto Expo. Only then, it was called the Gravitas. But what's in a name, you ask? Well, in this case, nostalgia. The Safari has had a massive fan following, which continues till date. But will marketing this 3-row version of the Harrier work in Tata Motors' favor? We're here to find out exactly that. Blacked-out grille of the Harrier makes way for a chrome-treated one on the Safari. The placement of the daylight running lamps below the hood and the headlamp cluster lower down the bumper continues as it is. The lower spec variants get halogen projector headlamps, while the higher trim gets xenon HID units. When viewed from the side, the Safari does betray styling cues from Land Rover, especially the new Discovery, with its long rear overhang. The brushed aluminum roof rail extension is a nice touch as well. But what makes the Safari really attractive are the beautifully styled 18-inch rims running 235 section tires. They fill out the wheel arches perfectly. Styling is smart at the rear too, with the tail lamps placed in indents similar to the Harrier and are connected with a black strip, but that's where similarities end. The rake on the rear glass is minimal, giving the Safari a more upright stance, and the rear bumper now follows a straight line with a brushed aluminum finish strip connecting the 4 exhaust vents. So the interior is familiar to the Harrier, so you get a similar layout of the dashboard, etc. Now on the top spec trims, you get this 8.8-inch touchscreen. It's fairly good to use actually, anti-glare, so you don't get any reflection of the screen. Quite crisp, good to use, it works really well. You also get a digital display for the driver, so you can toggle a lot of information including the tire pressure, etc. from the tire pressure monitoring system. Then you have this really nice black, ashwood and this oyster white color theme. And this color theme actually makes the cabin look really premium. It adds a certain amount of opulence to the cabin. Now even the rotary controls for the different modes, so the city mode, the wet mode, the rough road mode, etc. all here, they fall easily to hand. So ergonomically, it's really good. But aesthetics aside, the bolstering of the seats is also quite nice. So under thigh support is very good. The side bolstering is good. What I also like is the separate function for lumbar support, so I can increase or decrease the amount of lumbar support I need in my back. So really good for long distance cruising, which is what the Safari is inherently designed for. So overall, the design theme along with the panoramic sunroof and everything, it comes together really nicely to make this cabin feel very premium. You can option the Safari with either 6 seats or 7 seats. Now second row seats are actually really comfortable, so under thigh support is good. The bolstering is also really nice, good lumbar support, and the recline angle is very comfortable, and plus you can adjust the recline angle as well a little bit. What you also get here is this boss mode, so I can use this lever to move the seat completely forward. And if you're a single passenger who's chauffeur driven, it's very comfortable. There's a lot of knee room. Plus, you can tuck the feet under the passenger seat. So the USP of the Tata Safari is the third row seats, and that also happens to be the least favorite part of the test for me, being relatively tall. Now, the entire bench does not fold down completely. That side only folds down in one step. This side, however, gives you full access. It folds down in 2 steps. So ingress is not very difficult. It's all right. But once I'm in here with the seat folded up, there's not too much space for my knees, so my knees are brushing the row in front. But the rear recline angle is very good. Now asking for under thigh support would be a tall ask because it's a knees up position, so there's never adequate under thigh support. But like I said, the recline angle is pretty good. The point of concern for me though is very little headroom, especially at the back here where the roof kind of slopes down a little bit. But if you're not very tall, that should be alright. So I have to slightly crouch down and sit. The overall list of features is long, and even the base variants get plenty of kit like disc brakes on all four wheels, tilt and telescopic adjust steering, hill hold control, traction control and projector headlamps. Moving up the variants, the feature list expands to include a panoramic sunroof, 6 airbags and an electronic parking brake on the top trim. Now let's get to the focal point of our test, which is actually driving the new Safari. So it's running the 2-litre multi-jet, the same unit from the Harrier, making 170 PS of power, 350 Newton meters of torque. And in this iteration, it's paired with the 6-speed torque converter transmission. Now, on startup, the first thing that you'll notice is that there's a little bit of a clatter at idle, and there's some vibration that seeps into the cabin as well. You can feel it on the steering wheel, but as you begin to move forward, the vibrations do kind of settle down and the engine actually becomes quite smooth. Now when you ask a little bit more from the transmission, for example, when you step down, you go full throttle, there's just a moment of hesitation before the gearbox gives you a downshift. It's nothing bothersome, but it's not exactly instant. However, there is really no room for complaint. The downshifts are pretty well timed, and the upshifts are seamless. So overall, this 6-speed torque converter transmission is a really good unit. It's paired really well with this 2-litre multi-jet, and in all the different scenarios that you will be using this gearbox, you won't really find any room to complain. It actually works really well. Coming back to the overall drive experience of the new Safari, the torque spread from this 2-litre multi-jet is quite linear. So when you ask more of it, when you step down on the throttle, it actually gives you linear acceleration. So in terms of numbers, 0 to 100 comes up in around 11.5, 11.6 seconds with the automatic gearbox. That's quite respectable. The in-gear acceleration numbers as well are quite respectable. And like I said, while the engine is clattery and vibey at idle, it does smoothen out really well. So when you're up to cruising speeds, even when you're like city cruising speeds, 60-70 kilometers per hour, the engine is really refined. So the overall cabin experience is quite refined. Now as far as the ride is concerned, so because this is running 18-inch rims, so there is a little bit of a stiffness in the ride. So the low speed ride does feel a little bouncy over uneven patches. Luckily we are in Gurgaon, so we have ample opportunity to test the Safari on poorly paved roads. So far what I've observed is that in slow speed conditions over potholes, etc., while the dampness and absorption is good, there's a little element of stiffness in the ride. However, once you start picking up the pace, it does go over bad patches really well. So the trick with the Safari would be that if you encounter a bad patch of road, do maintain speed when you're going over them, and the car should be able to hold its own really well without breaking a sweat. However, that suppleness of the ride that you'd find with, let's say, 16-inch wheels, that is missing from the new Safari. The brakes feel good, there's good bite initially, but the progression can be a little aggressive. All in all, what you get for your money is the most handsome SUV in the segment. If you like the looks of the Harrier, the Safari takes the game one step further. What it also brings to the table is a usable third row of seats, the cabin feels really premium, and there's lots of space inside. While naming it the Safari might have been an afterthought, it's a good one. It harks back to the nostalgia of India's first good-looking SUV. And that is when Tata had asked people to reclaim their lives. And perhaps they're doing that once more, just for a little bit more money.
All right. Bookings for the Safari have opened for an amount of 30,000 rupees. You can book it online or at a Tata Motors dealership. Deliveries will commence from 22nd of February. That's the same day the SUV is expected to launch. Can we get Bot and Rohit on the show, please?
Hi, Sohini.
Hi, guys. Okay, Bot has joined us as well.
Hello. Yeah, my microphone's on again. I hope you can hear me.
Yes.
Yes, we can hear you loud and clear. Hello, bud.
Hi, Rohit. Hi.
So,
right,
Bot, Rohit, you all have missed driving this car. Would you like to brief people on why you missed this important drive?
Well, we were having a little bit of fun actually the last week. A few stories that had to be done, but also a little bit of fun to be had, and that's one of the reasons we were far away from our bases. Shit. Okay, I think I'm back again. But yeah, my internet's kind of I keep bouncing between Wi-Fi and my 4G. But anyway, I'm back again. So we were far up north conducting a story, and we've just come back to base Bombay, and that's why unfortunately last week on Friday we didn't have the show. We didn't have a live show. We were in an area where there was absolutely no network. It's been cut off from the rest of India for a very, very long time. Internet services are down, are poor, and so unfortunately we were in a situation where we couldn't really do much from there. So nonetheless, and of course, yeah, some of us were on postpaid and postpaid connections. Some of us were on prepaid connections, and in that place, prepaid connections do not work. So yes, we had a bit of an issue. We were in a bit of a trouble zone. We're finally back, and the Safari is the big story again this week because we driven it about 2 weeks ago, about a week and a half ago, and then the story was kind of prepared and everything was done. We weren't there on the drive ourselves, but I got a chance to drive it just yesterday. In fact, the car was sent to me, and I drove the manual, and I wouldn't say I'm impressed, but I'm definitely pleased with the way some of the details have been executed now compared to when it was or rather is what you get in the Harrier. So to kind of differentiate it from the Harrier, there are a few points that have been enhanced, have been improved, that have changed. One of the biggest changes, of course, is that handbrake lever. Instead of that aircraft style ridiculousness that is there on the center console, they've gone very simply with an electronic button for park, which you just press down to park and pull up to release. Now that's a nice touch that I really liked on the car. The sound system and all that entire console, again, quite nice looking. Fit and finish is very, very impressive. Very impressive. I'm quite happy to say that I think the cars were very, very well built, nice and tight in places. So I just hope that this will last for a very, very long time to come. Now, here's one of Tata Motors' idiosyncrasies, which I've noticed always happens in each and every car that they come out. There's something absolutely loony that they do, and one is this white interior, which I have no clue what and who was thinking about white interiors in Indian conditions. It's the filthiest, one of the filthiest countries I've ever been to. And let's admit it, I mean, there is no single car that stays clean on the inside for very, very long. Before the end of the day, for that matter, you get some dirt, dust, grime collecting on the inside. And white upholstery, I mean, who in their right mind does white for that matter? That's one of the reasons why most manufacturers stay away from white, simply because white does not last in this country. Exteriors, yes, it works very well. And it's a good thought. You want your cabin to feel a little more roomier. You want it to stay cooler. White, reflects heat, it reflects light. And in that sense, it intends to be, to stay. But beige works equally well. White is just an absolute no-no. The car that I had for one day had a stain on it that wasn't there in the morning, and by evening it had got stains on it, and it had collected dust. I just kind of wiped it down, and it had already lost its sheen. Absolutely stupid idea to do something of that sort. I'm completely not in favor of that, and I know for a fact almost every customer is going to will have to go out now and reupholster, or at least put those cloth upholstery kind of covers on top of these seats. What's the point of having done white in that case then? So they kind of lost the plot over there. Apart from that, I mean, it's only styling bits. The step on the roof that they have given, I mean, that's not a step on the roof. That is nowhere close to what the original Safari looks like. It's absolutely fake. That's just a roof rail that has been designed to look like there is a step in it to give it that Discovery 4 kind of, elevated look, or the previous generation Safari kind of look and feel. But apart from that, no. Now, I've also been hearing a lot of people on social media cribbing about how this is not a Safari if it didn't have 4x4. I mean, stop it, guys. I mean, I haven't seen a silly bunch of people, because what are you cribbing about? You don't even go 4x4ing anywhere for that matter. So what is it that you're crying about? What do you want 4x4 for? Use two-wheel drive. It's perfectly fine. It works well. The ride quality is just brilliant. It's fantastic. It's exactly how the Safari used to be, the previous generation Safari used to be. It's cozy. It's comfortable. It'll be fantastic over long-distance journey. It'll be quite, I would say fantastic, but it'll be great over long-distance journey, just as good as the previous generation Safari was. And I've driven that Safari extensively. I've taken it to Ladakh. I've taken it to Rajasthan. I've taken it to Gujarat. I've driven the car in myriad conditions across India. That's the previous generation Safari. And I intend to do the same with this as well at some point in the future. But having said that, I mean, the ride quality is one of the most brilliant aspects of this car. It's also comfortable to drive. Let me not make any bones. The engine's quite nice. It's refined. It's quiet. It's got great torque, and it comes in reasonably early enough. It could have come in earlier, but it just works well. Whether it's in urban conditions you're driving, or whether you'll be driving it on the highways. On the manual, and I'd recommend people now buying the automatic, because here's what the manual concern was with the transmission. The clutch was very, very heavy. The clutch pedal was extremely heavy, and this will make it very exhausting to drive in urban conditions, especially in traffic. And that's the only concern that I had. At slow speeds, the clutch feels very heavy. As your speeds increase, as you go higher up the rev range, it feels a little lighter. You're not focusing too much on that, because there are other factors that you're looking at. So you don't kind of get a sense of the clutch being heavy. But in traffic, and I got stuck for a short while, for about a couple of minutes in traffic, and trying to negotiate myself out of there. Again, my left knee is weak at this point in time, but in those 2 minutes, my knee began to hurt. So yes, there's a bit of modulation that is required. I think Tata Motors needs to remodulate the pressure on that clutch and ease that. It'll make things a lot nicer inside the vehicle. Space was fantastic. I like the space inside. Both first row, second row, extremely spacious, good enough for everything. It's a little odd that both the seats, the driver's seat and the passenger seat, have two different kind of handles on the side. One, of course, adjusts the lumbar. The other adjusts the passenger seat for reach, so that the rear passenger, if there is someone sitting in the back, can adjust the amount of leg room on a knee room that they would want from the behind. This is only to be used in case.
What is it called? The boss handle?
Yeah, that's what they like to call it. They like to call it the boss handle or the executive handle. I don't know what they want to. I mean, it's okay. But anyway, it works. I'm not saying not. And that's, of course, if you're being chauffeur driven, then it definitely works. But I don't understand why they needed two different types of handles for this. They could have made exactly the same handle for both the seats. They just function differently. Why do you need two differently designed vehicles? What were you trying to talk? What were you trying to communicate? What was the thought behind it? I mean, sometimes, yes, designers can go absolutely bonkers, and without any, without lead them on, it just gets ridiculous. It would have been a far simpler job, maybe cheaper also, to just have taken on one single set of knobs for that and just replicate it on both the sides. It did require a second, different looking kind of a knob, and now it looks very ungainly, because one's a very, very thin stick and one's this nice, thick, chunky grab handle. So it's just odd. Small details like that, of course, that are a little, kind of. You ask yourself, what were the designers thinking? What were the developers thinking about in this case? Even the center console, the glove box, or rather the storage space, the storage bin that's under the armrest. The armrest would have been a little larger. It's in a very odd place where you kind of you have to reach behind you, place your elbow. It's a little uncomfortable in that sense. It could have either been longer, or they could have made it slidable. So it could slide in front when you wanted to use the armrest, and slide it behind when you wanted to use the cup holders that are just below that. It would have made it a lot easier. There's not even a lot of space inside that storage bin. That could have been redesigned and rethought about. The other aspect that I noticed was that center console. It wasn't very sturdy. The fit didn't really feel taut. It kind of shook all over the place. It was a little jiggly. I think over time this will rattle itself loose, especially if people are driving it on bad roads. Some things are definitely going to rattle for that matter and make a bit of a noise. And guys, I'm a bit exhaustive on this, but these are all observations that I had because I drove the car just yesterday, so they're all fresh in my mind. And that's the only reason that I'm, narrating so much of detail in this whole thing. The other bit is the visibility. The seats were at optimum height that I had placed were at optimum height. I could not raise the seats any higher. But even then, the hood line, the visibility that you have is restricted by the line of the hood. It's the classic Harrier case issue again. The Harrier has the same problem where you kind of the bonnet intrudes or other it intrudes into your visible space or what you can see from outside the windscreen. Man, again, I think I've lost it.
No, we can hear you.
We can hear you.
Okay, you can hear me. My video is stuck for some reason. I'll just say what I have to say and then log out and come back in again, guys. Yeah, so that's one concern that I had because you can't even raise your seat any higher. Because if you do, there's literally no space between your head and the roof of the car, and that could be dangerous, or rather, that could be detrimental to your riding comfort, to your riding safety. Oh, sorry, I'm back again over there. All right, so those are some of my observations. Otherwise, everything works well. The infotainment system works brilliantly. It's nice. It's not intuitive, I'd say, but it's simple. You get to where you want. You get to do what you want to do very simply, very easily. The voice commands bit work well. I tried some of them, and there are again, like most manufacturers, there is a fixed set of questions that you can ask it, and it will only have replies to those. Even if you deviate a bit from the kind of question that you're asking, it's not intelligent enough to understand what you want to know. And I think here most manufacturers should now take a leaf out of MG's books. MG Motors has done this brilliantly in the Hector, where not only is it English, it's also Hindi. So it's two languages, and that's brilliant. I think manufacturers need to get onto this very quickly and figure this out.
Tata has just done that recently as well. So I guess they've not just brought it down to the Safari.
Not in the Safari.
Not to the Safari.
Not in the Safari.
But I guess they have the ability to do it if they want to.
I guess it's just a matter of time before it happens now.
Yeah, it's a matter of time before it happens, but I think they should have got ready with that as well, since they were introducing the Safari, and the Safari is, again, India's, the nation's vehicle, kind of a thing. Meri man ki baat koi Tata Safari ke paas jaati hai. So, yeah, I mean, should have done that.
We have a couple of questions actually, but we'll just quickly get to that as well. Agam Patap. Okay, one sec. Sorry, it's not clicking.
But I think we can go, Sony. I'm seeing a couple of questions coming in from, let's take the first one from...
Sorry, there's one here which says that Safari or the Innova Krista, reliability, value for money, which one would you choose?
Reliability, value for money. I mean, any day, there's no question on this. It is the Toyota Innova Krista where you would put your money on where reliability is concerned. On the Tata Safari, I'm not convinced that it is going to be a very reliable vehicle over a period of time. For that matter, I saw some of the elements have definitely improved. I'd give Tata Motors that they've significantly improved. Some areas are still the same, and that is essentially if you cannot build a vehicle that is consistent, that has consistent build quality all across from the front of the hood to the rear to the tailgate. You cannot build a vehicle consistently well across the car, across the length of that car and the width of the car. I'm sorry, but you have got problems. Get them corrected. That's the Tata Safari. Now, Innova Krista, we never really noticed this. We never really see these kind of issues cropping up. How good is our reliability? If I had to rate it on a 1 to 10, I'd say definitely on the higher end of that scale. But there's no saying what could go wrong with the Innova. Nonetheless, we know over a period of time, that the Innova is literally bulletproof, and customers swear by it. You don't need me to say this. I mean, you can ask anybody out there who's an Innova user. Ask even the Innova drivers for that matter, people who run this as fleets, for their fleets, and how highly appreciated the Innova is, just because it just goes on and on and on, and nothing ever phases it. And same way that's also one of the reasons why it presents a lot of value for money, because despite the highest sticker price for the Innova Krista, you're still able to use that for so many years. There are still the large generation Innovas. There are lakhs of them still plying on our road, and there is still very, very happy owners and very happy users, Customers are also quite happy. No one's really got a complaint with them. So the Innova is bang on Agam Pratap if you're looking for something on reliability and value for money.
Jay Soni wants to know, when will Honda and Toyota bring their global SUVs to India, like the CHR, HRV, and maybe the Toyota Corolla?
We'll just take the Safari questions for now, Sohini, first before we get on to something else. There are a few more questions on the Safari. There's one from Aniket Pal who's asked, will the Safari come with 4x4 as the older generations who are known for it? Plus, the XUV500 is said to have 4x4. Aniket, like I mentioned earlier, there really is no need for a 4x4 in the Safari. I'm not sure what you're going to do with a 4x4 system. If you're looking to get off-road and go somewhere else, the Safari is not the ideal vehicle just because of its girth. It's a very, very large vehicle. I don't recommend 4x4s that are that large to head out off-road. Yes, if you're out in Rajasthan on the desert, on the sand dunes, you can definitely do something that large. But if you're in a heavily forested area or something that's got a lot of rocks, I would recommend something that has got a smaller footprint, that's a far more nimble car, a lot more agile for that matter, and something of that sort could probably come with the Thar if you wanted a 4x4 abilities. But if you're looking for a 7-seater and with 4x4, I'm sorry, but I don't really buy that argument right now any longer, because I know 99% of all those customers who own 4x4 SUVs, Fortuners and Endeavours included, don't ever use the 4x4. They don't ever use the low ratio transfer case. I don't know of anybody who actually does that. So it's just pointless and it's a waste. So why should Tata Motors also, for that matter, invest in offering something that nobody really uses and utilizes? So yes, the old Safari could had it. There's no need for the new Safari to continue with that. 4x2 works just as well.
There's one from Apurva as well. He says, does it deserve the Safari name?
Does it deserve the Safari name? That is the million-dollar question. I can see Rohit smiling over there as well. Does this new vehicle deserve the Safari name? I think it does. And I think they should not have done Harrier, and they should have brought in Safari, the nameplate Safari, back then itself. Having two cars, literally the same compared to each other, just a little bit of exterior styling on the rear end, some that fancy roof rail that gives you the impression of having a stepped roof, really doesn't disqualify it as a Safari for that matter. The Harrier also could have been the Safari, and they could have just carried on with that nameplate and just stayed there and drawn on the nostalgia. I think Tata Motors has lost the opportunity to do something really, really exciting, something tremendous, and then using the Safari nameplate for better effect. It's a lost opportunity. Someone, I think, did not believe too much in the vehicle itself and thought that, this is my opinion, and thought that the Safari nameplate could definitely bring in a few sales from some nostalgic owners who are looking for something of that sort. But I believe that is a wasted opportunity.
All right. Here, Naveen Sayani wants to know, Safari or the MG Hector Plus, which one should you buy?
Tata Safari or MG Hector Plus to buy? Tough question. Neither of them is that great. But if I had to put my money on it, I would say the Safari, because it definitely feels a lot more spacious, a lot more roomier in that sense. I'm not very happy with the Hector, or the Hector in general at large, not the Plus necessarily or whatever, but the Hector for that matter. Simply because I didn't like the transmission. I thought it was a slow transmission. I really didn't enjoy driving that car. Essentially, since it's got a DSG, it's got a dual clutch system. I'm not very impressed with that dual clutch system, and for one of those reasons, essentially, I would recommend that you buy the Safari, which feels a lot nicer to drive overall. It feels like it's got a lot more torque. It feels a lot more agile, and it generally feels nicer to drive. So, Naveen, the Safari, that's the one I would recommend you to buy.
Okay, I think we're done with the Safari questions for now, Bert.
Right, I think we can move on to.
Yeah. Okay, so we'll take the latest ones. Samarjit wants to know, is it still wiser to buy diesel cars over petrol, considering the current or upcoming market trend and the government regulations?
Is it still wiser to buy diesel cars over petrol ones, considering current government and upcoming market trends and government regulations? Yes, absolutely. Diesel hasn't stopped, Samarjit. There are still a lot of people out there who are buying diesels. There's still a lot of manufacturers who believe diesel is going for a really, really long time. However, there are certain issues over here, and these may not be and manufacturers may not be able to overcome this. Keep in mind, as emission norms get more stringent, most manufacturers will have to move over to petrol-powered vehicles, petrol-powered motors for that matter, because the diesels, you will have to insert a DPF at some point in time. And once you get a digital particulate filter system into your car, because just the regular NOx emissions, the way they're filtering out diesel emissions at this point in time in cheaper, more affordable cars for that matter, is not a viable long-term solution. It's a mid-term, it's a part-time solution, and this will not work in the long run. As those emission norms get more strict, then you will have to get in a DPF, and a DPF in a small car will not make sense. So manufacturers who are offering small cars, more affordable cars right now, will have to shift over, and cars will get more expensive. That's not to say they will not offer it. They will definitely offer it, but diesels will get a lot more expensive, and that is a huge challenge. So for most manufacturers, it makes a lot more sense to just stick with petrols at this point in time. And even though yes, there are some of them, Maruti definitely feels the pinch of not having diesels in their portfolio, and they're coming back with diesels as well. But I don't think it's a long-term strategy. I don't think it's a plan that to stay there for very, very long. So is it wiser to buy diesel cars over petrol ones considering current upcoming trends? Kind of, yes. I don't know how long you're going to run a diesel engine for that matter, but if you only use it for the next 4, 5, maybe 6 years, diesels will still be around for that long. I think at least for another decade is till when diesels will be around. So yes, you can still use them. Fuel will still be available. The more expensive cars will still offer diesel powertrains. So you can certainly go with that option.
All right. Between the XUV300, the EcoSport, and the Nexon top model, he wants to drive it mostly for the highway on bad roads. Comfort is a priority. What would you choose, Bert?
Rohit, you want to take that?
Yeah, sure. In fact, we do have a comparative review of all these vehicles together, and not that they've been updated heavily since then. The Nexon obviously has had a facelift. What we've compared is the pre-facelift model, but there have been no changes to the chassis or the suspension, so you can still get your answer, a more comprehensive answer. But the short answer to your question is, if bad roads are going to be the primary part of your commute that you're essentially looking at, in that case, it's the XUV300 that I would recommend. I think it's got one of the best ride qualities in this particular bracket, and it's just made for bad roads. So if bad roads is going to be one of your biggest concerns, it's the XUV. But if you're looking for something that is a little more holistic in that sense, where bad roads is not the only thing that you are worried of, you are also going to be driving on highways, you're going to be commuting in the city, I think the EcoSport is still the car that I would go with. It is aging now. It has been around for quite some time, but it still feels like a premium product. It still feels very nice. It still feels relevant. And, that's the reason why I would pick. And there are many EcoSports in the market already. They've already proven the reliability. They're very cheap to maintain compared to some of the other cars in the segment. So if I had to make a choice between these three, or if I had to recommend you one, I would go with the Ford EcoSport.
Sorry, hold on. I've got a question. I've got a statement here from Vaibhav Vij. Is he on a rant or someone stole something from him? The way speaker is responding isn't reasonable, sounds arrogant. The way I am responding isn't reasonable, I sound arrogant. Guys, here is one comment. I don't know. I mean, this definitely looks like a troller to me. But let me get out of this conversation once again. I mean, I'd love to talk about this. I was just waiting for a Tata Motors troll to come up. Here's one more guy who's definitely out here. But yeah, let me tell you something. I mean, I think I absolutely admire Tata Motors and what they have done in the past. I think they have had some phenomenal cars. They've done some phenomenal jobs. They are one of the builders of India's automotive history, for that matter. I still very fondly remember, and with a lot of how would I say it? With a lot of admiration, with a lot of aspiration, wanted to own a Tata estate back in the day. I thought it looked absolutely gorgeous. To me, it was one of the, remember the Tata Sierra, the Tata Estate, all built on that one particular platform. I think it looked fabulous. I think it drove well. I think it kind of built up the aspirations of the country looking for something premium. And it continued on till then the E-Class and Mercedes and various other manufacturers came to the country. And today, where is Tata Motors? They're still stuck in a rut. I keep having this conversation with them, and they keep saying that we're still working on these things. Competition has got so many years. This, that, we got to catch up. We know we have to, but we need to catch up a lot faster, guys. And it's not me. I mean, do I have a rant? Of course, I have a rant. I admire the company. I appreciate what they're doing. I appreciate the work and effort that they put into it. But I don't think everybody's on the same plane. There are some who have an idea, who know how to get things done at Tata Motors. There are others who pull down the brand as well, who don't really get, do the job that they have to do as well. Do I have a rant? Yes, I definitely have a rant to go on about because I see so much potential. I see that they've got a long way to go. I see that they've got enormous capacity to build some fantastic cars. The Indica, I mean, what a fantastic car. Look at the numbers that the Indica reached. So it's not just me. I mean, customers out there are saying it for themselves. You look at the numbers and you will know just how many cars Tata Motors selling and how well is competition doing for that matter. What's the challenge? What's so hard? How hard is it? How hard can it be to beat your competitors? I don't think it's a very tough job. Look at the Tiago. Look at the Tiguan. Where are those cars today? Look at there's so many cars. I mean, you had one or two, yes, reasonably good cars that you sold. The Nexon is definitely one of them. Great product. Again, the EV also for that matter. I like the product. I really appreciated what it had to offer. I enjoyed the car also for that matter. I think they know what they have. I think some of them definitely know what they want to do. I'm just not sure if they're able to carry it out to the fullest capacity of their fullest extent of their abilities. So yes, I do have a rant, Vaibhav. Thanks for bringing that up. Love you, man. Great to have you on our show. And yes, please go on. Send me these responses.
It's nice to see people are so passionate about this brand, and they do take offense, which is good actually. You clarified, but
Let's not get into it. I just spent the whole day talking about this.
Okay, we have one more question. Himanshu wants to know, he wants to basically purchase an Altroz diesel. Is it worth buying or not on a tight budget, monthly running 1400 kilometers?
Well, you want me to respond to the positive, but yes, the Atos is a good car. I'm not saying that. It's a great car. It looks good. It looks attractive. There's certain shades of paint that it really catches the eye. It's a nice design overall. It's a comfortable car on the interiors, well thought about, very practical, and it drives very nicely also for that matter. But is it worth buying? I'm not entirely convinced again. If you can get, and this is not a lot of confidence that I have got from a lot of customers as well who've had issues with the car for that matter. We also had issues with the car on the day of our drives as well, where we had these problems. And I think this is something that should be brought to your notice as well. We've had issues with this reliability-wise. If you're willing to compromise with that and accept that, yes, there could be certain issues that I'll have to go back to the manufacturer and get them rectified during my warranty period. And this is not exclusive to Tata Motors. Let me tell you this. A lot of other manufacturers have similar issues. A lot of manufacturers have initial teething issues with their products, reliable, reputed manufacturers for that matter. So yes, if you can accept that and live with that, I think it's a good purchase. Go for it, Himanshu.
All right. Jay Soni wants to know, is it worth waiting for the Volkswagen Tiguan, or should he go for the Venue DCT?
Tiguan. He's asking about the Tiguan, not Tiguan.
Tiguan, sorry. Tiguan.
You're asking about the Tiguan.
Confusing names there, though.
Yeah. Jay, I would recommend you wait for a little while. Don't rush into this. Having said that, the Tiguan is not something that we've driven as of yet. Those drives are coming up. We've driven its cousin, which is the Pushak, and some of my opinions are there out in public domain. You can go to the website and read about it. I think it was impressive, but I will reserve my opinion. I'm not allowed to really talk much about it, but I will reserve my opinion on which is better, the Venue, the Sonnet, or the Tiguan for a day when we can tell you about this, Jack. Sorry about this, but you just have to hold on. We still have an embargo on certain aspects of the car that we're not allowed to announce or talk about.
All right. Lazy Wanderer wants to know, has Mahindra dropped the idea of a 1.2-liter TGI engine in the XUV300? It's been a long time coming. Still no concrete news on its launch.
No, I don't think they've dropped the idea of bringing that engine. I think even when we spoke to them at the Auto Expo, they'd said that there is still some testing that they would want to put the engine through. And then, of course, the COVID happened. So I'm guessing that is what has delayed the plans. But I don't think they've dropped the idea. It's just taking its own course. It has to be put in through its rigorous testing, of course, before it hits the market. And we've been seeing a lot of XUV300 test mules. We've been seeing Scorpio test mules running this engine as well. So they are trying this engine in various applications, and those tests are still on. So I think till all of that is done, I don't think that engine is going to be out in the market.
All right. Archana wants to know, Tata Altroz or the Kia Sonet, which is better?
I'm just responding to her on YouTube itself. It's a Kia Sonet, Archana. That's the car that you need to go in for. Significantly better than the Altroz. That's not, again, you're comparing a Sonnet, you're comparing an SUV to a hatchback. It's not the right comparison for that matter. The Sonnet will offer you a lot more practicality and the space on both the Altroz and Sonnet, they're comparable. The Altroz is also an extremely spacious cabin. The Sonnet just gives you slightly higher seating position, a little more confident driving position, which I think you might appreciate a little bit more than what the Altroz has to offer because it's a hatchback at the end of the day. But yes, there also probably are a few more features in the Sonnet that you may not get on the Altroz, but that's about the larger differences that are there. The driving quality and everything will all depend on kind of the variant of the Sonnet you want to buy. I mean, you could buy the one with the dual clutch transmission, or you can buy the standard automatic, or the manual, or the automated manual transmission, IMT. Or whatever it is, but it'll all depend on which variant you kind of settle down on. They all have very, very different characters for that matter, Archana.
All right. Priyank wants to know what is a good SUV to go for in the sub 15 lakh rupee range?
In the sub 15 lakh rupee range, I think the Sonnet and the Venue are two of the better choices for that matter. And out of which I'd say the Sonnet because you usually get decent options over there as well. It's a more contemporary car in a lot of ways compared to the Venue. So that would be the recommendation in the sub 15 lakh range to go in for. But I would also recommend you wait for a little while longer because there are more products coming out in the market. We don't know where they're going to be positioned and what they're going to be priced at. So let's just wait and watch. I think within another 2 or 3 months, we'll have some more announcements coming in. So I think let's just hold on, Priyank. Don't rush into anything right now. But if you are in a hurry, then the Sonnet's the one to go.
All right. I think we've taken quite a few questions, and questions are piling up as well.
From Joshua, bird's impression of the 1.5 TSI plus DSG or Skoda Kushaq prototype drive. Nitin, I have mentioned all of this on the web story, so you can head out over there, check that story out. There are a few details that I'm not in a position to talk to you about at this point in time. So I have avoided making any references to that in that story, but go online, check out the story. And see for yourself what the Kushaq feels like. But yes, it was a fun to drive car. It's a fun to drive car. I kind of appreciated the 1 liter turbo petrol more. I think that's a lot more fun. That was a lot more fun to me, especially if you're going to be driving it in urban areas. Then that's the engine, according to me, that you should have.
All right, let's just wrap up the news from this week. And there is a question related to the news as well. So we'll come back to that as well. So starting off, let's start off with the highlights from the union budget from earlier this week. The Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman announced a voluntary vehicle scrappage policy that will come into effect from April 2022. Under the scrappage policy, private and commercial vehicles over 15 to 20 years will undergo an automated fitness test, failing to clear which the cars will be taken off the streets. The centre is also considering waiving of registration charge on new vehicles to incentivize scrapping, sources have told CNBC TV 18. More details will be shared by the Ministry of Road Transport and Highways in due course. Just to come back to that question, Lazy Wanderer wants to know, what is your take on the government scrappage policy, the implementation, loopholes in the policy, as it's voluntary and a fitness certification can be availed with some mullah? Corruption still exists, sadly.
Well, Lazy Wonder, you can't do much about corruption. You can't change that. Corrupt are going to stay corrupt because they're earning money on the side, and that's you can't do much over there. So let's put that aside. But what is your take on the government scrapping policy? What is my take on what government scrapping policy? They just mentioned that we are getting a scrapping policy out, and this has been going on for the last 3 years or 4 years. Every budget, there's an announcement made, scrapping policy. These two words, scrappage policy, keeps coming up in every budget, and then Nitin Gadkari ji will come out and say, "Oh, scrappage policy, हम उसको देख रहे हैं, बहुत interest के साथ देख रहे हैं, और सोच रहे हैं, 4 साल हो गए सोच के, अभी और क्या, मतलब let's move ahead and put this into practice. Let's get this into place." We've kept making these announcements that will be availed on cars that are 10 years old, 15 years old, now it's 15 years old and 20 years old. I honestly, I don't have an idea what is going on. Implementation would be fine as long as the policy is put down and presented forward. So far we just hear this at budget time and we all jump in our seats and say, "Oh, fantastic, great, scrappage policy is coming. Industry is going to be saved." But where is the policy? When is it going to be executed? Well, that is all up in the air. Somewhere a cloud exists which has got a digital world of these policies where all of them will eventually sometime come down to ground as well. And we can avail of these facilities.
All right. Getting back to our news, the government has also allocated. No, we have a lot to run through, and then we have to get back to our questions as well. So I'll just quickly run through it. The government has also allocated 1.18 lakh crore rupees for the Road Transport and Highways Ministry. The government has awarded more than 13,000 kilometers of road projects under Bharat Mala program, out of which 3,800 kilometers of the road projects have already been completed. The finance minister has also said 8,500 kilometer road projects will be awarded by March 2022. A noteworthy point also is that out of the budget allocation, 1.8 lakh crore rupees has been allocated to the capital expenditure only, which is recorded to be the highest ever provided. Moving on to the products.
So we also have another issue, Sohini, on this. This is also something that I have a concern about. Let me go on. It's a fantastic day. We've been away for 2 weeks and there's a lot to be spoken about. And a lot of the outlay that has been announced for the roads are in states where elections are going to happen in the next few months. All right. So this is not something pan-India. A majority of the allocation is towards states where elections are going to happen. And I know this is going to take place. There are a lot of the political parties are going to be standing out of those podiums and they're going to be announcing, हमने सड़क बनाई, हमने सड़क बनाई, हमने सड़क बनाई. हमने सड़क कहा, जहाँ सड़क खराब है वहाँ पे हमने सुधारी नहीं है उन सड़कों को, वो तो अभी भी खराब है. जहाँ काम अभी भी चल रहा है वो काफी सालों से अभी भी चल रहा है, and the work is still going on. We recently drove on one of those patches of the road, and that road has been under construction for a very, very long time from what we understand from the locals, and it's not completed as yet. It's still a mess. The traffic jams on that are epic. I mean, people have been stuck on those sections for 17 hours, 18 hours, 19 hours. So you were lucky, in fact, to have got from your hotel to the airport in time, and you made it. You didn't get stuck in a jam, but we experienced some of that on the way up when we are heading into this location, and it was terrible. It was a night. Some of it was a nightmare. In fact, I don't know, wasn't it Rohit who also told me one of those? You saw some car that had fallen down into that hole somewhere,
Yes.
which is there. Right
Exactly,
next to
in the
road.
middle of the road. Yeah.
In the middle of the road, in the middle of the road, there's a massive hole, a hole that a whole car drove into and literally nose dived into, and disappeared. All you could see was its tail sticking out, and that was it. That was how bad the condition of that road was. And this is not just on that section. Across the country, there are so many roads that are still a bit of a mess. Traffic is increasing. If you go out on the Mumbai-Pune Expressway, the Mumbai-Pune Expressway, when it was built, had an outlay for the government at that point in time said that it would be adequate till about 2010 or 2012. Till then, it can sustain its traffic and people will be able to move peacefully. And today, we're way past that sell-by date. It's been about over 8 years now, 2020 or 9 years for that matter. And you know what kind of a mess that the expressway, Mumbai-Pune Expressway gets into. There are traffic jams at the toll booth. Even despite having your FASTag services, and on the expressway, this is implemented in a far better way than anywhere else. But we increasingly see so many traffic jams. Rohit is quite aware of this because he uses the expressway quite frequently, and he knows how bad it can get at the toll booths. Sometimes there's a jam that's almost 3 kilometers long.
That's true.
How did the FASTag system help you? How did a better and more advanced road help you? What's the point of putting roads out? I mean, we need to be a lot faster. We need to be a lot smarter. We cannot have the roads that exist the way they are today. We need to have better infrastructure. We need to man them properly. There need to be people to regulate this, to watch over this, to check this out. Recently, there was an announcement about speed cameras being placed on the expressway, 200 or something of that sort, to be placed on the expressway to cut speeding. Do you really require 200 or something of that, some ridiculous number of speed cameras to prevent people from speeding on the expressway? I mean, how ridiculous is that? What are you going to do? How many people are those who have actually been challaned, for that matter? How many of them have actually, what is the ratio of people who have actually paid up those challans? How many people know that they have to go to the website and check that whether they have received a challan or not? If the intimation, I got a challan for my car once because it was parked in a no parking zone. I haven't received a challan at home at all.
No, but I have
happened to go to the website.
I have got plenty.
No, but that's what I'm saying. There's no consistency in all of this. I happened to go to the website to check just out of curiosity. I said, let me see that I don't have a challan, and there, lo and behold, it happened to be there. This was almost a month after it happened, and within that month of that offense taking place, I did not receive a challan. So there are lots of issues like this. I mean, it's great to announce this, and it's fantastic optics to announce that we are putting so much money into roads, we are building roads, we're developing roads, we're putting on new systems. But what's the point if on ground it really does not work and does not really help anybody for that matter? Was our trip this time any faster than what I have done 10 years ago when roads were not as wide, not as adequate? I don't think so. On the contrary, I think I've had faster drives, quicker, reached my destination quicker in the past than what we had just now. So yes, these are issues that need to be sorted out. We need to have
one point. Do you think this is also possible because we had the pandemic and a lot of things had stopped because of it, which is why probably things have worsened?
This is not something, again, I'm not pointing it out to this particular government or that government or that sort. This is with every government, irrespective who is in power, who's sitting on that seat right there. To be fair to Gadkari ji, he's done a lot more in terms of road infrastructure than anybody in the history of India has, for that matter, apart from the British. Okay, so I think in that sense, Nitin Gadkari ji has really done a fantastic job, and he's one of those people who actually ensured that a project starts and project finishes. Unfortunately, we're not keeping pace with the number of cars that are getting on our roads. On our drive recently, also what we've seen is there are so many people who are driving down the wrong way. Yeah. What happens? How can you compromise your own safety and the safety of others in that manner? It's absolute callousness. And I'm not talking about just two-wheelers. I'm talking about trucks. I'm talking about buses. I'm talking about cars. They're literally racing down the wrong way. It's not even being cautious. No hazard lights. How do you change mentality? How do you change people's sensibilities? That is one of the larger concerns. Put money, invest money into that. Invest money into educating people about how to use roads. We will automatically have better, flowing traffic on our roads. Our road conditions will improve. How many trucks that are overloaded and still ply on our roads and get away? We've seen random instances. I have seen random instances where there are queues of trucks stopped someplace along the highway where at the head of the queue, there are a few traffic cops standing and taking bribes just to let them go. And everyone is aware that every truck is overloaded, but they're being let go. An overloaded truck on a bad patch of road that has already been scarred, for that matter, is only going to make the situation worse, and that does not improve anytime sooner. So there is a nexus also within this. I'm not saying not, but yes, it's not just announcing that we are spend so much more on developing roads around the country. What's the point of putting all that money into just developing roads when the existing roads they don't operate to their maximum, to the best capacity?
All right, I sense a story there, but I think we should do a story on which is the best city to drive in right now. I think that would be a fantastic story for everyone.
I'm willing to guarantee Bombay will not be in the top 10. No longer.
Bombay is a mess. Bombay definitely is a mess. All right. Again, I will attempt to run through our news. Mahindra has launched the AMT petrol variant of the XUV300 at 9.95 lakh rupees for the W6 variant, which is 55,000 dearer than its manual petrol counterpart. A new addition to this SUV is the Blue Sense Plus suite on connected car tech, which offers over 40 features, including live vehicle tracking, geofencing, and SOS alerts. The AMT W80 spec also gets 2 new dual tone color options. Booking have already opened and the deliveries will start from mid-February. Moving on, in just a couple of weeks from now, French car maker Citroen will finally launch the India spec C5 Aircross SUV. The car was revealed earlier this week, and it is being locally assembled at the manufacturer's Tamil Nadu plant with locally produced engines and other components. They plan to have 90% localization eventually. Just a quick reminder, Rohit has already driven this SUV just over a year ago in France, and he's pretty much given you all the details about this SUV. You could search for the Citroen C5 Aircross on our YouTube channel to update yourself until we're able to bring you more details from the India-specific car, which should be in a week or so.
In fact, Sohini, I'm just going to quickly add a note here. We are going to be driving the India spec car tomorrow. It's literally tomorrow. So do log on to our social media networks and channels, and we will have a few photographs of the vehicle tomorrow. And whatever questions you have about the India spec vehicle, do send them through to us. You already have the hashtag running on the screen. It's Ask Cody. So just put that hashtag. Let us know what you want to know about the Citroen C5 Aircross, and we'll try to get you all the info. Like Sohini said, we've already reviewed the car. We drove the car in France. That review is already up. So do take a look at that review as well. You will have more questions about this vehicle. It's a new brand. It's a new car. It's a completely different kind of design. So any questions that you have about this vehicle, just send them through to us, because we'll also be speaking to the Citroen people tomorrow. So if there is something that may have skipped our mind, and you point out something, maybe we could get those questions answered over the weekend. So just send in all your queries about this particular vehicle. I'll be driving the car tomorrow. Bert is going to be driving it on Sunday. So yeah, we have the car with us for a couple of days, and we will be able to answer all your queries about this vehicle. So Ini, back to you.
Yes. And if there are any questions unanswered, Bert will answer them on the show. The next week's show, we will get all those questions answered in detail. An interesting bit of news also came in from Apple. In fact, this is a bit of a speculation. The consumer electronics and tech giant is now making headlines on speculation that they are seeking partners to develop a fully autonomous electric car. The speculation also suggests that Apple has had rounds of discussions with Hyundai and Kia Motors, among other automobile manufacturers, and a deal is expected to be announced by March 2021. The IT giant is believed to be already developing next-level battery technology to extend the vehicle's range and efficiency. Code-named Project Titan, the development work is being supervised by former Tesla employees and top automotive experts. This car is also not going to be available for end users. It will be aimed at businesses. Bert, Rohit, your take on this?
Something to say over here also. Okay, you're a bloody con of a company. You buy a phone, and then you buy a charger, and then you buy an adapter for that charger, and then you buy that adapter for that thing, and then you buy something else, and all your life you end up paying or buying something or the other just so that you can make that one phone call out of that phone.
I think that's precisely why
you have to buy power, and then I know what it's, and then some adapter will be required because of some other adapter that is not usable, and then you will get fake adapters in the market that will not last, and then Apple will screw your Apple and will say you use the fake adapter from Amazon, you bought it from Amazon, and that will be the end of it. So there you have it. That's the story of the Apple car. And Rohit will buy one.
Rohit will buy even the first one.
Everything. Extra apples in his refrigerator.
That's why I think Sohini said that it's not for end users. It's only for businesses. It's only for.
Yeah, she made sure to say that.
Yeah. I think that is what the hidden meaning is.
But all the best, more power to the Apple. If you can get a car out, I think there's a lot of users out there. Lots of people who are quite fond of what you have to offer, and let's see, definitely interesting. It'll be exciting to see what they have to offer. You won't be able to copy your songs onto that. You won't be able to transfer any music onto that car. So that's out of the question. You have to buy it off from Apple Music.
But Apoorv actually has another $1 million question. He says, will Windows
work?
Are
you mind, Apoorv Chetty? It's not going to work. $1 million where you pay $1 million to Apple and they will still not allow you to do that. So out of the question.
Well, Windows doesn't work in your regular cars.
It will not have Android Auto. End of story.
Yeah.
You will only be able to use Apple CarPlay, and that's it.
Android users will lost important customers.
Yes, completely. If it comes into Uber, for that matter, if you have an Android phone, it will not accept your booking.
Good. All right. Rohit, if you can take us through the spy testing. You've seen some visuals of the Tiguan 2.0.
Yes, in fact, earlier this week we saw the Tiguan being tested. Now we already have the Allspace in the market, but this is the 5-seater Tiguan. I remember someone asked us about it a couple of weeks ago on the Overdrive show itself. So I'm not sure how much of this is true, but we are hearing that there is a 1.5-liter engine also being considered for the low-end trims of the Tiguan. But the 2-liter certainly coming. In fact, the test mules that you see on the screen right now, on the boot, you will be able to see the 4Motion badging. That's essentially the all-wheel drive that is only available with the 2-liter TSI. It's not available with the 1.5. But a 1.5 is also being considered. In fact, this time around, Volkswagen is considering local assembly of the Tiguan to make the pricing a lot more competitive than what it was when it came out. The Tiguan Allspace will also coexist. That will be the more expensive car, of course. And if the T-Roc units were to come back, if they were planning to import the T-Roc again in 2021, then essentially the Tiguan 5-seater will sit between the T-Roc and the Tiguan Allspace. So I'm expecting a price tag of anywhere between 24 lakh rupees all the way to 30 lakh rupees for this vehicle, depending on how many engine options they actually bring. But if they decide to stick to only the 2-liter with the 4Motion, it will be upward of 30 lakh rupees on road is what my guess is. Also, this vehicle will go up against the Citroen C5 Aircross, which is set for a launch soon. It will also go up against the Jeep Compass, which was updated recently. And it will come with a big infotainment screen. You already saw that in the test, in the image that we just showed you. It's going to have Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, not just CarPlay. It's also going to come with the virtual cockpit. That's the fully digital instrumentation. So even that is going to be a part of this. So I'm not sure how much of this will be available on the lower end trims if they were to be assembled locally. But yes, this car is definitely coming. We saw 2 of these being tested, and somewhere after the launch of the Tiguan is where the new Tiguan should come out, is what we believe.
All right, and the motorcycle news as well, Rohit, if you could just take us through that.
Yes, so let me just quickly, what is the first bit of visuals that we have? Do we have the Benelli TRK, which has finally made a comeback in its
the big bike
BS6
from today, actually? You could start
You
off
want to
with
start off with that? Great. So yeah, my favorite motorcycle is back in its 3rd generation avatar. The new Hayabusa is now finally here. That's what you have on your screen now. It was revealed earlier today. This is the all-new 3rd generation Hayabusa. Now, that all-new is a word that I have a problem with because, well, it's not all new. The engine, it's a 1340cc. It's the same engine that we had in the 2nd generation Hayabusa as well, but there have been major revisions made to the engine to make it Euro 5 or BS6 compliant. They've also made the engine stronger in terms of the endurance. They say that the components are now stronger. The engine had great reliability even in the 2nd generation model, but now the new one will be even more reliable, even more enduring is what they say. It now comes with a lot of electronics. That's the big news, really, because now you have the drive mode selector. You can have up to 3 factory set modes like the A, B, and C, like the previous Hayabusa. But now you also have 3 user configurable modes, which is U1, U2, and U3. So you can all the stuff that you see on the screen right now, you will be able to fine tune all of that, and you will be able to decide what all you want, at what level. You have a 10-step traction control. You have lift control. You have an active speed limiter, which means that you can just limit the speed to whatever you want, and then you can accelerate and decelerate the way you want without really having to worry about jumping any speed limits. You also, on the screen right now, are seeing the emergency braking, which means that under emergency braking from speeds above 55 kilometers an hour, it will automatically blink the hazard lights. This is something that we've seen in a lot of cars as well. But this particular feature is not coming to the Indian market, is what we are told. As for the chassis is again derived from the 2nd generation model. The subframe is different, but the primary chassis still remains the same. It's an twin spar aluminum frame. It is lightweight, of course, but not all that light as compared to the 2nd generation model. Only about 2 kilos, 266 kilos for the 2nd generation, 264 kilos for the 3rd generation model. So not a big weight advantage as such. The estimated price is what I estimated to start at. It's about 18 lakh rupees is what I think will be the cost of the new Hayabusa. It will come to India via the CKD route, meaning it will be locally assembled to keep the pricing competitive, because India is a very big market for the Hayabusa, even in the global scheme of things. And that is why it will be assembled locally. And I believe that because they have sort of practically carried over the engine from the 2nd generation. Of course, there are changes, but it's practically carried over from the 2nd generation. Same with the chassis. I think that they will still be able to keep the cost very, very competitive. The arch nemesis for this is, of course, the Kawasaki H2. And compared to that, I think the Hayabusa will have a major price advantage if it's launched at 18 lakh rupees ex-showroom. And that is what my belief is. There are 3 colors that are available. You saw that in the video. The black and bronze being the signature color for it, the communication color. There's also silver and red, and a white and black. So these are the 3 colors, and they will all be coming to India. When will it come to India? My guess is it's the 2nd quarter of 2021 is when Suzuki will bring the Hayabusa down to the country. So that's basically all the news that we have about the Hayabusa. The second bit of news is the Benelli TRK 502 has made a comeback in its BS6 avatar. It's been a long time coming. A lot of you have been waiting for it, and it's now finally here, and it's come at a very good price tag as well. It was expected to be a lot pricier than what you see on the screen, but it's not. It's under 5 lakh rupees ex showroom, and that essentially means that it enjoys a space where it literally has no competition, because now the Versys 650, the V-Strom 650, they're almost close to 10 lakh rupees on road. The Triumph Tigers have moved even further, which means the resale value of the Triumph Tiger has gone up as well. So around that 5 to 6 lakh rupee mark, the Benelli 502 is your only proper adventure tourer out there if you want a big adventure machine of that kind. So I think a lot of people have been waiting for it. So if you have been, well, now is the time to head to the Benelli dealership, take your test ride, and book your vehicle already. So these are the primary motorcycle news that I have. Let me just see if we have missed out on anything from the list. Well, there is one bit of news from Hero and Harley. Hero has started distribution of the Harley-Davidson motorcycles in India through 11 dealerships in cities like Kolkata, Mumbai, Ahmedabad, Pune, Bengaluru, Chennai, Kochi, Bhubaneswar, Delhi, Dehradun, and Hyderabad. Now, Hero has set up a separate vertical to drive the sales of the Harley-Davidson bikes and the merchandise in India. And vehicle servicing will take place at Hero MotoCorp's own dealership network, and that will cater to the needs of the existing Harley owners. In fact, some of the people from Harley-Davidson India are now working with Hero. They are working from the offices of Hero MotoCorp, and that is essentially what it means, that they have a separate arm that is handling this. So it's essentially some of the older employees from Harley-Davidson India who are taking care of this, so they know what they're talking about. So if you are a Harley-Davidson owner and you've been worried about what's happening, well, there is your ray of hope. Hero will basically put in the money, the expertise that is required to make sure that the Harley owners in India are getting the service. And now there will be sales for the motorcycles as well as the merchandise, as well as the accessories, which is another big business for Harley-Davidson. So that's a good ray of hope. And I think it's only going to get stronger from here now that Hero is putting their efforts behind this. Back to you, Sohini.
So, a couple of questions that I had over here. I'll come back on the Benelli, on the TRK for that matter also. And here's a good story idea also for us. I think we need to explore this. How is Benelli kind of pricing the motorcycles the way they are at this point in time? How is it that they may manage to get a sub 5 lakh rupee motorcycle out in the market compared to when Kawasaki would not done it? So far, Kawasaki was the benchmark for the more affordable adventure motorcycles for the motorcycles at large, because they were able to crack the price code. So, but now Benelli is taking over. It's an Italian brand at the end of the day, and always been seen as a premium brand also for that matter. But here's Benelli offering, I think that's tremendous value, having a sub 5 lakh rupee motorcycle and ADV also for that matter, with reasonably decent amounts of power and torque. I think it's a great deal in that sense, but how are they cracking this? I think that's something that we need to explore, and we will have a story coming up for you guys in the future. The other point I wanted to make, I mean, in all of this new Hero plan for Harley-Davidson, Dehradun, what do they need an outlet in Dehradun for? How is that part of the whole coverage system? I mean, why Dehradun?
But it is actually a very big market. The hills are actually a very big market, because it's not just private owners, but there are also these small companies that are operating and renting out motorcycles. So it is a fairly
the ones who are renting out Harley-Davidson's roads are the ones who are operating out of Delhi at this point in time, and that also because they're operating on the Delhi Chandigarh Leh route, and they've not been very successful. There's some big names that we know about. Also, there's an US brand, an American brand that came down to India. I don't know, Eagle Rider.
Yes.
Correct. And it's not gone anywhere for that matter. That model has failed. I know of another guy in Punjab who bought about some good 15 or 20 of these motorcycles, and then in less than 6 or 8 months started selling them all off. Because I seen one of his motorcycles, which a friend of mine purchased, and there was another motorcycle which was the Ducati Multistrada Enduro, which is going for dirt cheap prices, almost brand new. It's sold off for dirt cheap prices, under 10 lakh rupees for that motorcycle that has done just a few thousand kilometers on the Odo. So in that way, it's not. I don't buy that argument about Uttarakhand having a lot of potential for this and a lot of things. I just found it a little strange. Dehradun having that, it sounded a little bit off for me. I think there are other potential markets that they could have looked at possibly. But Bhubaneswar also, for that matter, I'm not entirely sure what is the thing. But yeah, it gives them some amount of spread in that southern belt, in the eastern belt or southeastern belt. But Dehradun is a complete. I mean, it's very close to Delhi in any case. And Delhi is servicing that market. Would have been servicing that market So I'm not sure what is Dehradun doing in that entire list. The other nice and interesting bit also is that Ravi Avlur is coming back to Harley-Davidson, is coming back into the two-wheeler fold. Of course, he was previously at Ducati. We know him as one of the heads of Ducati, who was responsible for the brand growing over here. And now, after that, he went down to Force Motors, did some work over there for a while. And now he's come back into the two-wheeler fold as the head of Ducati in India. And let's hope he can do something interesting with the brand and take them forward in a way that nobody else has done so far. So, well, more power to him.
All right, we have a question here though. About from Aniket. He wants to know, what do you think about Honda CB500X price, as the TRK is now under 5 lakh rupee mark?
Well, Aniket, we still don't know if the 500X is, really coming, and if it does, when is it going to come? Because in terms of its power rating, it's going to be somewhere around where the KTM 390 is. It's almost that same kind of a power range. But if you look at the pricing, well, it's a parallel twin engine. Honda is not going to price it very cheap. You already have the CB350, at a certain price bracket, and now there's rumored to be a scrambler coming atop that particular platform. So that means that the 500X will be even more expensive. So, like even Bert said, I mean, that is a phenomenal price tag that Benelli has managed to achieve with the TRK 502. So I'm not sure if Honda will be able to price their motorcycle in that particular zone or not. I genuinely hope they do. That is, if they bring the 500X to India, because we're hearing too many rumors about it, and I really hope that it comes. But I think that it's safe to assume that it will be a little over what Benelli has priced their motorcycle at, because Honda's motorcycles usually do come at a premium. We have seen the Africa Twin now, go ridiculously more expensive than the model it replaced. We saw the 650s come in, and over every new consignment that Kia kept coming in, it was just getting a little more expensive, until it almost went to the 10 lakh rupee mark. So now, with the 650s also set to make a comeback from Honda around that same price bracket again, I don't know where they're going to place their 500s. I just hope that it's a lucrative price tag, and something that will lure a lot of buyers to that particular bike.
He has one more question, Rohit. He wants to know, will Honda launch the Neo Cafe Racer, the CB150R and the Fed CBR 150R, to compare with Yamaha's MT15 and R15 respectively?
Well, I'm not too sure about the Neo Cafe Racer. The Fed version, again, I'm not very sure about it. There've been rumors that, yes, they're planning something new, a completely new design language as well, because the design language that we've seen on the CBR 250 or the CBR 150, it is very old for Honda now. It doesn't match anything else that is in their portfolio right now. So there has been a rumor that they have been developing something else, or they have been working on something else. But as of now, it looks like all those efforts are focused around bringing down Royal Enfield, bringing down the premium segment from Royal Enfield. That is where Honda's focus is completely right now. So I'm not sure what they're doing in the 150cc space, but that, of course, is a very important space. And not many have been able to crack it the way Yamaha has done it with the R15 or the FZ15, the MT15 and all those motorcycles. So that is one space that Honda definitely wants to have a strong presence in. But I'm not sure if it's going to be the CB150R, the Neo Cafe Racer. I'm not sure if that's going to be the contender that they'll have. Hopefully, we are going to be meeting them soon for the new 350cc Scrambler or Cafe Racer that they're planning atop the Highness. And hopefully we should have an answer from them on what is happening in the 150cc space.
All right. Devesh wants to know, what's the best electric bike or scooter in the current market, or should he wait for something better in terms of specs?
I think I would strongly recommend you go with the Ather 450X or the Chetak. Both are promising products. Both are coming with a lot of promise, a lot of reliability as well from whoever's using it. They are all happy with the vehicles. Of course, these vehicles are very new to the market, so I can't really talk about the longevity of it or the long-term reliability. But we are all trying out new waters. So are the manufacturers. So if you are willing to be a part of that experiment, I think right now it's safe to go with the Ather 450X or the Chetak.
All right. And Shrujan wants to know, will there be any updates from Bajaj Dominar 400?
Srujan, I'd taken a similar question last week as well, and I said the same thing, that Bajaj's focus right now is on the 250cc segment. They're calling it the 250 Pro League, because the 400cc segment has not been very successful for them. For KTM, yes, but not for Bajaj, which is why they're bringing all their focus back to the 250cc segment. The Dominar 250 has been received quite well. So is the SWAT Pillin, the With Pillin, and also the KTM 250. So they are now focusing mainly on the 250. But that doesn't mean that the 400 will be forgotten. I think they will do something to the 400 as well. But I don't think that update is going to happen anytime soon. They recently gave that motorcycle an update, and I think that is all that the platform is really going to allow them right now. Maybe a little bit here and there in terms of facelift again, maybe different colors for 2021. I don't know, but that's about it. I don't see something very different happening to the Dominar 400 immediately until and unless there's a proper platform change.
All right. Any news on the Honda Rebel cruiser for India?
Kabir, no, unfortunately, no news on the Rebel as of now. In fact, when the Highness came out, the rumor was that it could be the Rebel, but that wasn't the case. But like I said, there are quite a lot of rumors coming in from the Honda camp, and we hear that there could be a 500cc, or there is rather a 500cc platform that they are working on. And of course, they will want to expand that 500 platform into various different segments. But is a cruiser going to be a part of it? I'm not very sure, because this is another debate that we've had, a discussion that we've had on the Overdrive show a few months ago, where we talked about how the cruiser market in itself is, sort of dwindling. It's dying out. The Avengers are probably doing a little bit, but anything higher than that, the cruiser market is dying out. I mean, even look at Royal Enfield. The Meteor came out. It's an excellent product. We all loved it. But you look at the consumer's reaction, the consumers, yeah, all that is fine, but where's the classic? Where's the new classic? Where's the new classic 350? So the cruiser is not something that people are really eagerly waiting for. And with a company like Honda, who is so conservative, who will go through maybe tens and hundreds of market researches before they actually, decide on a product and bring it down to the market, I doubt if that Rebel is going to happen. Maybe a Rebel 350. I don't know if they decide to expand that the Highness 350 platform into a cruiser as well. Maybe, I don't know, but that's about it. But I don't know if that Rebel 500 is going to happen for the Indian market, because cruisers, it seems to be a dead segment for the Indian market at the moment.
All right. Here's a question from John Samuel. He says he's planning to purchase a Creta E-based diesel version. Recently the prices have been hiked around 80,000. Do you think it's worth buying, or does he need to look for something else?
John, I would suggest, instead of going with the base variant of the Creta, I would rather urge you to go with a mid-spec or a top-end variant of something like the Sonnet or the Venue. You will get a lot more features, unless that additional space that the Creta is giving you is what is going to be something that is, making you go in favor of the Creta. I think you should, if you don't necessarily need that additional space, you should just go in for a top-end Sonnet or a Venue, or even a mid-spec Sonnet or a Venue, whatever fits your budget. But base variant of the Creta, or even the Seltos for that matter, is not something that we would recommend.
Vikram wants to know which will be the best daily commuter in the hatchback space under 7 lakh rupees. His monthly running is around 2,000 kilometers.
What do you want to take that? Sorry, which is this daily commute hatchback under the budget of 7 lakh rupees, monthly running 2,000 kilometers. The monthly running is not a lot of mileage, Vikram. So my recommendation is use one of the cars like the Wagoner. Should work fairly well for you. I've just been recommending it to a couple of other people as well. And the only reason I like the Wagoner is because it's one of the largest cars in its segment, with enormous amounts of space, good ride quality, and well-built interiors. So in that sense, I think it will be a good daily commute hatchback under that budget. I think it should fit just under that budget of 7 lakh rupees. It's a good option. Plus, you've got the CNGs as well. You've got the CNG option as well. So it makes a lot of sense as a hatchback in that segment.
All right. Rohit, Aniket wants to know, should a beginner buy a new bike or a used bike? Which bike would you prefer in both cases?
Aniket, if you could, since you're online, if you could just build a little bit more on that question and tell me what kind of a motorcycle do you like? Are you a super sport kind of a guy, or are you a naked motorcycle kind of a guy, or are you just looking at a commuter, just to get from point A to point B? So if you can just add to that, we will come back to this question, and then I'll be able to, give you a much better answer. If you can just tell me what is your preference in terms of the body style of the motorcycle.
All right. I think we have answered this question in the past, but once again, just for clarity, Deepak wants to know, the Indian government has made BS6 engines mandatory in the Indian market, but fuel pumps are still selling BS4 petrol and diesel. Is it going to affect the current crop of BS6 engines?
Well, as far as I know, at least in the metros, it's not the BS4 fuel anymore. BS6 fuels have started rolling out. And whatever we have spoken to the manufacturers, if it's a prolonged use of the BS4 fuel on BS6 engines, there could be some issues, but not to a level where, nothing alarming to a level where the engine could have a problem. It may not give you the required emissions is what the problem is. It may not bring down the emissions to the required level with a BS4 fuel. To be able to get the BS6 level of emissions, you need to have BS6 fuel. There are very few engines that are really sensitive towards the BS4 fuel, and I don't think it's going to be that big an issue. Yes, in the smaller pockets, probably in the smaller cities, there is still BS4 fuel or adulterated fuel that you have to sort of battle. But it's just a matter of time before BS6 fuel rolls out. But the only big drawback, like I said, is that the emission standards are not met if you use BS4 fuel with BS6 engines. The engines are not very sensitive to that fuel, not something that's going to ruin your engine, so to say. That is what your question is pointing towards.
All right. Rohit, Mohammed wants to know what's up with the Tiger 850. How does a 50cc decrease? How does a 50cc decrease? How will it make a difference to the Triumph?
Right. So there's no 50cc difference. It is only a branding difference. It is still the same 888cc motor that you get in the Tiger 900. So in terms of the engine, the chassis, no, nothing is different. It is the Tiger 900. They're just calling it the 850 or the 850 Sport is because they want to tell you that it's sitting at a slightly lower bracket as compared to the Tiger 900 GT or the Tiger 900 Rally and the Rally Pro. So the idea of the 850, a lot of you also asked us why the Tiger 900 base variant never came to India. So the idea was because the 850 was in the pipeline, the Tiger 900 wasn't really received very well. I'm talking about the base variant when I say Tiger 900. The base variant of the Tiger 900 wasn't received very well in the market. People directly went in for the GT or the GT Pro or the Rally Pro. Here I'm talking about the global markets. And that is why then Triumph decided that instead of keeping that base variant, which no one is really asking for, might as well split that into a more, strip a few features here and there, add something new, add something in terms of the graphics. So all the differences are listed very well on our website. So do take a look on what the 850 versus the 900 is. But essentially, that was the idea, that the base variant didn't work. So they just decided to make it a little bit more fun in terms of the way it looks, add in a few things, maybe remove a few things, but more importantly, bring the pricing down. And that is what has made this a very nice proposition. So the whole idea of this product is that if you don't want to stretch all the way to a GT, if you don't want to stretch all the way to the off-road friendly Rally or Rally Pro, you just needed a good, powerful, adventure tourer. Something to just go from point A to point B, maybe to ride to work, maybe to just do small journeys like, say, Bombay, Goa. You don't really want something that's very hardcore and with a lot of electronics. That is where the 850 essentially comes in. Doesn't have too much. The price tag is excellent, and that is exactly where they're planning to place it. So the launch is happening in India on the 9th of February, and it will be priced quite competitively. So if you think the GT has been launched at a slightly higher price, where the Triumph Tiger 800 XR, it left that void after the model was discontinued, that 850 is going to fill that void.
All right. That's about it, guys. There are too many questions today, but hopefully we'll still be trying to answer all of your questions offline. Before we wrap up, though, let's quickly take a look at the teaser for the show that plays tomorrow at 1 p.m. on CNBC TV 18. Do tune in. We've got the review of the Safari, which if you've missed, you can catch it on TV tomorrow at 1 p.m. And we have the Renault Kaigo. It's a video which is already on our YouTube channel. And don't forget to know more about Hyundai Motor India's latest initiative, Be the Better Guy. It's a campaign that's championing the cause of road safety. So Bert has conducted an interview as well. So you can check that out tomorrow at 1 p.m. Any last parting words, Bert, Rohit, before we sign out today?
Well, no, I think it's going to be an interesting week again coming up ahead. Lots of interesting drives also coming up very, very soon. Today is the 5th, and within the next 10, 12 days, we've got a lot of interesting drives coming up. One of them is going to be Renault's new baby, and then we've got the new Mercedes coming up as well. So looking forward to that. And more than anything else, guys, I hope very soon that you will be able to join us and watch a story that we've had a lot of fun creating as well, with some really, really interesting cars and one hell of a journey across 2,000 kilometers that I had to do. Of course, that's not part of the journey, that's not part of the story, but it was what I had to do at the end of it all. But then, yeah, Rohit did the same thing the other way around, 2,000 kilometer journey from west of India all the way up to the north of India, and I did the same thing in from the north to the west. So we had interesting times, and hopefully we'll catch that story very, very soon. Sony, probably next weekend on the show.
We might require a little more time. We have
A little
so
more time
many
because,
first drives.
yeah.
First
And we have shot
drives
so
also.
much, and we have shot so much that
we want to do a
Sony
great
It's
job.
going to take some time to assimilate all of that. So there's a lot of data, a lot of content that we'll come back with. It's going to take some time to assimilate all of that and put it down and edit that story. But we will come back to you very, very shortly with this. But do keep watching all of our digital media spaces. We are on Instagram, we are on Facebook, we are on Twitter, and of course the website overdrive.in. We've got a new look website again out for you. So all of our news comes out on that. We're not, we keep ourselves updated from that as well. So just go out, check out our website, and don't forget every weekend, Saturdays and Sundays, like Sony just mentioned, the show on CNBC TV 18. To watch that as well for a bit more detail and a larger, more elaborate sense of what is happening in the week that has just gone by. So good night, gentlemen. I got to rush and cook food for tonight. So it's the weekend. I'm going to have a good gala time. Catch you all very, very soon. And yes, come back for my rants next weekend.
Good night. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
See you
Good
guys.
night.
Good night.
Bye-bye.